inside a bigger room than we get now, so that's positive.
Really? The gym at the church is bigger?
Yeah, it was bigger than
No,
what
it
we.
wasn't.
Well,
It
it's not as
wasn't.
big as the actual church, but on our only side we get, it's not that big.
Yeah, but it's the gym even that half here is bigger than that room.
I don't think so. We would have to.
Yeah, that room was small.
Yeah.
No, it was quite big. I don't
We
know.
have any like
You wouldn't have been able to put a volleyball net in that.
yeah, you wouldn't be able to fit much.
The second floor feels like a little tight, but yeah, if you compare it to what the church was like, the church did have that big middle area, but that was used for like music awkwardly the whole time.
Yeah, Miss West just took over the entire area. Didn't even think about, hey, maybe
When
this
she
should
was like, hey guys,
don't.
don't talk.
Right, during transitions, yeah. I mean, I don't blame her. She had nowhere else to go.
And she could have gone into the other building.
Yeah, she could have gone into the other building.
There was
We
an
just walked
auditorium
across the
Somehow
street.
they like used all the rooms in that building.
I didn't use all the rooms.
Oh man, I wanted to print y'all something, but all right, there's something I'll give y'all tomorrow. That's annoying. All right, that's fine.
So these are. Oh my God.
That's your homework. I was gonna print out the rest of it's stuff from the textbook, but since there's just 4 of y'all, I don't mind printing stuff out for y'all. But you'll have to wait to get it tomorrow. And if anything, Ben is the one who would have access to it. I need to actually admit him.
Did you add the Transformers from last Jeopardy?
We'll see on Friday. That's all I'll say. Because yeah, we're back on track now. Admit. Am I already recording? I am. All right, now that needs to go away. Welcome, Ben. Okay, so we're back on track. We're starting chapter 24 this week. Yeah, I have another sheet for you guys of like a lot of the translations we're gonna go over in class this week, maybe even some others, so it'll be a third. That's you tomorrow. Well, the homework y'all are gonna do 1 through 6, and that is in the Microsoft Teams bin already. At least I took a picture with my phone. If it's hard for you to like read it, I can type them up for sure. So just let me know, Ben.
Okay.
Yeah, good. All right, so chapter 24, we're going to talk about what the actual concepts are today and work on some exercises. Which ones we printed out already? But will be tomorrow. We'll continue those exercises Tuesday. Then we'll check 1 through 6 from the Lectiones on Wednesday. Then we'll do a vocab quiz on chapter 24 on Thursday. Talk about Commodus and kind of work our way towards Constantine. And then we'll do Jeopardy. But yeah, this is like a standard first week of a chapter. You guys know the drill. The idea is, I don't know if I always do it this way, but like the first week we should really do all the exercises like Lectiones. The second week we'll do the 38 stories, which I think is the Julius Caesar. Where is my copy? And we'll do like stuff on the back of the chapter plus into the end. So basically the things that are more kind of authentically based on ancient Roman writing, that'll be week 2, or week 1 we kind of do the textbook exercises to kind of get the hang of the new vocab and grammar. Whatever the 38 stories is that we do next week, I'm sure it's going to be really good. All right, so there's that, and that's written on the board as well. This is the vocabulary. I'm getting us out of this PowerPoint at the end of today because it just like makes everything look boring and muted. So we're going to go back to our normal looking PowerPoint today, but this is the last of this. Like for some reason I had to like space this all out for some reason to make them, I don't even know. Well, let's go through. Then we got Carthage, that is third declension. Fabula, fabulae, which is story, like fable or fabulous. Imperator, which can either mean emperor or commander. Imperium, because emperor is actually not a Latin word. Imperium is command, basically, or like supreme power, authority. This is actually, there's a whole concept behind Imperium we should probably talk about on Thursday when we talk about Commodus. That became a thing around the time of the emperors. Perfugium is refuge. So think of fugio, fugera, fugitive. Is somebody who's seeking something like refuge or shelter.
Our penguins need refuge.
Yeah, totally. Sarawa, Sarawee, and Sarawa, Sarawai is slave because every Roman family basically had like 5 to 15 slaves.
How did we get so many slaves though? There had to be at least some poor Romans that couldn't afford one.
Having slaves be available was part and parcel with the fact that they were conquering so much of Eurasia that they just brought, like, they conquer a territory, bring back the women and children and men who didn't die fighting, and those were slaves. So yeah, real nasty part of ancient life. That lasted up until like 150 years ago. Crazy, right? Solacium, solacii, comfort or relief. Think of words like solace or consolation, consolation prize. Vulnus, vulnerus, their declension is wound, like vulnerable. We're gonna have this re or sometimes red in front of words that start with T. Prefix. We have this in English, right? We use it a lot. That'll mean again or back. So it can go on to any verb. Like if it goes into venio, venire, that'd be like to come back. But other words you would actually just you'd use like again. So it just kind of depends on the context. I kind of thought we already had that. Is as or just as or even when. So it's kind of like a weird conditional conjunction that is like one of those will kind of work better than the other one. Post day is an adverb afterwards. That kind of makes sense. It looks like post. It's almost like the adverbial form of the preposition post. And then we got a bunch of verbs. We got like 6, 7 verbs. We got 2 more on the next slide. Occipio, occipera is like to accept. Yeah, accept is like the easy way to remember this one. Or receive. Excipio is to accept. Is this a verb? Don't we? How do we use accept in
To like
English?
be accepted.
But that. Oh yeah, we
Exception.
never use it like that. But yeah, you're right. But yeah, we use accept as like an adverb in English, right? Like everyone except so and so. It's like modifying the adjective everyone. That's weird. But anyway, I would probably go with take or what do you take? Recipio is going to take back, so it's kind of related to excipio. Obviously, these 3 verbs are like kind of the same, but they're just kind of like giving us the different nuances of prefixes that can be applied to other verbs too. And we've seen these prefixes on other verbs. Pello, pellere, y'all going to get that mixed up with, what is the recent P verb that we got? Not appello, appellare, petto, petera, which is to seek. Pello, pellera is to strike, push, drive out, or banish. So there's kind of a range there for what that can mean. Striking and pushing are kind of the same. Driving out is similar to that. But yeah, driving out and banish are kind of a different thing than strike. So it's almost like it's like attacking someone or making that person like be banished. Expello is to drive out, so that's like a stronger version of pello. And then we got 4 more verbs. Narrow, narrare, that's the easy one. Means to narrate. Quairo, quairura is to seek or look for. Think of words like question. Inquira, wait. Oh, that's part of the same thing. Okay, that's so there's a lot of translations for quairo, quairura, inquire, it's a lot. And then rideo, rideiri is to laugh. And we get words like deride, derisive, or ridicule. Ridicule is probably, or maybe ridiculous is the one that'll help you remember that one. Because it doesn't really look like deride, we don't even really think of that as being something that's like funny. But if you're deriding someone, it is kind of like you're like making fun of them. You're kind of like, you're making a joke out of something. You're deriding something. It's derisive. It's like less serious. All right, that's the vocab. Y'all getting quizzed on Thursday on 10 of those. How many are there even? There's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So yeah, if I did it 15 or 20, it would almost be all of them. I'll do 10. It's fine. Okay, this chapter, brace yourselves, guys, is about the ablative absolute and the passive periphrastic and the dative of agent. So dative of agent goes with passive periphrastic. We've already kind of gotten a hint at what the passive periphrastic is. So don't be intimidated by how crazy it sounds. It's not quite that bad. An ablative absolute, that's just like a really cool participle centric ablative use. So it's kind of like, it's like the super ablative. So this ablative absolute is a type of participial phrase that generally consists of a noun or pronoun and a modifying participle. And both of the noun and the participle will be in the ablative case. That's the important. These are usually going to be really easy to recognize. And there's just like, it's basically Latin getting away with explaining, like saying a lot with a very small amount. So in this sentence right here, Roma visa viri gaudebant. What is visa? It's actually a participle. It's almost hard to tell, but what is it coming from? And these are going to be perfect, well, these can be any participles actually. I was going to say perfect past. It can be any kind of person. I think mostly you're going to see present active and perfect passive. But what is visa from? That is kind of hard. I should have had chicken boy.
We see.
Uh,
No, it's just Wideo.
right. Yeah. Wideo, videri. So I'll write that out. I'm writing Wideo, videri, Ben. What does Wideo, videri mean, Ben?
Videri. What does it just mean to see?
You said to speak?
See.
Yeah, to see. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm writing on the board, so probably can't see it. But also, this is the verb that gets
I cannot.
your videri visas soon. Anyway, so it's from to see, and so this Roma visa, at least early on, these are gonna we're gonna see these ablative absolutes, which at least consist of 2 words. They're gonna usually be at the beginning of a sentence, and they're gonna be in the ablative. So we can tell Roma's in the ablative, and then visa is also. I think actually that should have also gotten a macro. Pretty sure it should have got a macro too, right? Because these get like first, second, and clinton endings, so it should have got the first ablative, first clinton ablative. So this is, you see Roma visa, you realize this is an ablative absolute. How do you realize that? Basically, it's just saying that is a participle in the ablative next to a noun in the ablative. And we would translate this to something like Rome, comma, having been seen. But this sounds really clunky, right? Because then we have the rest of the sentence, which is the men were rejoicing. So Rome having been seen, comma, the men were rejoicing. That sounds crazy. I'll show you a better way to do it. But first, let's just compare it to like how we would have done this last chapter before we got the ablative absolute. It would have been like the men seeing Rome were rejoicing. I mean, that actually sounds better, but I'll show you how to make this sound better. So this is not an ablative absolute. This is just using a present active participle that agrees with weary, nominative plural, and then Romam is like the accusative within that participial phrase. So this is how we would have had to say this last chapter, but now we can say it in less, actually it's the same amount of words, but it's less syllables. So you're going to want to use since, when, or although a lot of the time when you're translating an ablative absolute. So that would be like something like, since Rome was seen, the men were rejoicing. That sounds like better English than our first example. You could say, when Rome was seen, the men were rejoicing. Although I don't think we would need to use although here. I don't think that's like the sense of what is being said, probably. But there might be context where although is good. So it's not necessarily that bad, right? Peace rebus auditus. We can try to translate this ablative absolute. I'm gonna have to practice. Like once you do like 5 or 6 of these, you're gonna kind of get it. But like, there's only so many possibilities for what an ablative absolute can kind of look like and how it can be translated. So his rebus auditus. What is his rebus? Think of res publica and hic. Yeah. Just one thing.
These things.
These things. What is auditus? It's a hint. It's a
It's the second person.
It's a good guess, but it's actually a participle. So the ending is not like a normal OST mustus int kind of thing. The ending is actually just an ablative. But what verb is it coming from?
Audio.
Audio. What does audio mean?
Audience. Crowd.
Close.
No, to hear.
Yeah, to hear. So what do y'all think this would be? Just the first 3 words, or really any one. Kind of were heard. It's, yeah. So like most literally, and we probably don't always want to go with the literal with ablative absolute. We want to like make it sound more idiomatic, which will take more kind of creativity and more almost like looseness. That's the wrong word than before. But it'd be something like these things having been heard, and then Koipit Tamera, he began to fear. So it's better if we say with these things having been heard. We could also say since these things had been heard, he began to be afraid. Now, well, I'll review this tomorrow. But when we looked at participles, there was one slide in PowerPoint where I described like there's this weird staggering of tense. We'll talk about it a little more, actually, honestly. Like because this is perfect tense, actually, we can actually treat this as blooper. Just go with it. I'll explain it better tomorrow. But because we would want to say like with these, like since these had been heard, because if we said since these have been heard, he began to be afraid. I'm just trying to say badly that the participles actually react to the tense of the main verb. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Let's kind of keep it a little more simple right now. So okay, eo imperium tenente. Teneo is to hold, imperium is command.
I
Eo.
command you to hold.
What is eo? Eo would be something like this or that if there was an ablative buddy next
I
to it.
command you to hold this thing.
Nope.
No, those things.
No, it's not. Nope, we're not like ordering anyone to do anything. So how can we translate AO? AO is the hardest thing.
It's or it.
Yeah, well, what if it's not this or that? Usually AO for us has been this or that, but it's not next to an ablative actually. It and tenente are ablative, but imperium is like a direct object. So let's treat it like an actual pronoun, what pronoun would it be? Yeah. Like with him, tenente imperium?
With him having been ordered, having ultimate power.
Yeah, basically having or hold with him holding the command or like the ultimate power or absolute power. So yeah, be careful. This is actually present active. The ones you've seen so far have been perfect passive. This one's present active. So it's with him holding the command. I fear the outcome. But the book gives us like all the possible like things we could do with it. So this is the one I would come up with if I was just doing my Latin homework. It'd be like with him holding the power, I fear the outcome. But you could say since he holds the power. So don't be afraid to do that. Like I'm saying, like there's almost like a certain looseness that we need to start to be able to entertain and work with. Because before we always did present active as verbing, but if you want to, you can do he holds the power, since he holds the power, when he holds the power, if he holds the power. That's okay. That's actually the same thing, even though it kind of feels different. Jed?
So why? So although is like very different from all this.
I know.
He's saying like although, whereas he's saying he's a good guy to hold the power, whereas all of the other ones are bad. So how would you distinguish if he wants the guy to hold the power and he doesn't?
Right. So all those weird. That's the one that is going to stand out. And like we might go sentences and sentences, weeks and weeks without seeing a sentence where it feels like all those right. I bet we're going to find one, and it's going to be a lectiones or an exercise that gives us a lot of trouble because it sounds funky. And then we think, oh, if we use although though, now it has like the contradictory kind of like energy that it seems like it's supposed to have, given what like the second part of the sentence is. So that might come up, but I would go with, since, or when usually. When one of those I left out of the first slide, but with, since, or when, those all kind of have the same kind of like meaning behind them in this context. Where yeah, although definitely is very different. So we'll see if although ever comes up. It seems like there would be like a separate kind of thing you would do to have although show up. There it is. Okay, and then the only other thing about ablative absolute, it's mostly that. It's mostly stuff like this. And as soon as we start practicing it, it's not going to seem as like crazy as it might now. The cool thing to me is that this was 3 words that in English translates to like 6 words probably.
Darn
You probably-
ancient language.
But like that's like cool of Latin to be able like English is so mired with all of these like helping verbs like having and been and like in articles. Sometimes we actually have a lot of articles. None of this but Latin is so much more succinct. It's so fast.
I can say English sentence much more like with having heard
You said that,
begun to afraid.
okay, you're talking very slowly, just to be clear. That was like a very slow way to say. Anyway, the other thing about ablative absolute, the weirdest it gets is when you just see 2 nouns next to each other in the ablative and there is no verb. So the verb we're going to supply is basically sum esse. If you remember sum esse fui futorum, what am I trying to say? Futorum. Well, never mind. There is a 4th pencil part. But I don't think there's any participles of sum esse is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I don't think there's any participles from sum esse.
Couldn't do they also be like? Well, I mean, I'm not saying it is here, but you could also get it confused with the imperative of duco duca.
That's completely true.
That's what I would have when I'm seeing that, and I'm like Caesar lead or something,
Right.
and I'm like, wait.
Yeah, I guess the only like if Kaiser was vocative, which as far as I can tell would just be Kaiser, now with E, that would make me think we're talking to Caesar and we're telling him to lead. But I mean, you're right. I mean, as long as it helps, like this is a meta kind of thing that you're not supposed to like lean on like a crutch. But obviously, when we're doing homework within this chapter, if you're seeing ablatives like that, probably ablative absolute. Whereas like after this, then you would want to entertain an imperative. But anyway, Caesara Duque, that's just going to be Caesar being the commander, or it can literally just be Caesar, comma, the commander. Well, this gets real. This is the book under Caesar's command. I don't know why we would. That's kind of like that's kind of their version in this context of since. Like since Caesar is the commander, we shall fear nothing.
You should fear something. He's Caesar.
Yeah, but anyway, like this under that's coming out of like there's no rule about that. That's just like can you kind of see what I mean about ablative absolute? It's like kind of asking more of us in terms of like we're wanting to arrive at something idiomatic, meaning it sounds like good English, like natural English, but we're liable to end up with things that sound very mechanical and weird, like Rome having been seen. I gotta see if the book actually says that, because like there's no way that's a proper sentence. But anyway, so we just gotta like do what we need to do to make these sentences sound like actual English, basically. And sometimes that's gonna take a lot of doing. But for now, try to just use with, when, or since. Those are gonna be your buddies. Rome having been seen, the men were rejoicing. That's not an actual sentence. Okay.
Aha, so they've been lying to us. This language never existed.
Maybe it was a
Just made
sentence in the
up.
40s when they first wrote this book. All right, so that's basically ablative absolute. I will use ABL, ABS to signify this. We're going to get to some exercises today, and you'll see it's not as bad as it may be sound. I'm not sure if it sounds bad or not. It really isn't too bad. Then the passive paraphrastic. This is fun just because now we get to say passive paraphrastic. Jeez. So the passive paraphrastic is a future passive participle plus a form of sum esse. So if y'all remember, we did not see too much passive participles in the last chapter. Like that was the participle we saw the least of. We saw a sentence like this that I came really close to writing, but then I got distracted with lunch. But it was something like docendus est yeah, the boy must be taught in school. And less must actually. Oh wait, well we had a that would be must be taught, but this it was just docendus. The boy is to be taught in school. That is the future passive participle, like is to be, like not yet, but like in the future he is to be. Whereas if we add a form of sum esse, it becomes a full-on passive paraphrastic, where we use this thing we call the gerundive. So that's actually important. I should probably write that here. Using the gerund, and I'm going to capitalize the N and the D in gerundive, because that is how you're going to spot these. Is that you're going to see that N and D, and then a first or second declension ending uses the gerundive plus sum esse. And the gerundive is just a fancy grammatical term for the future. This was apparently something that Cato the Elder would scream in the Senate every day at the end of his like his sign off from like his speeches, I guess. He would say Carthago delenda est, a normal future active.
It's almost as crazy as the book I'm reading about King Arthur. This knight grabbed this spear that stabbed Jesus Christ and then blew up a castle with it.
The Spear of Longinus.
I think so, yeah. It blew up an entire castle.
The Hellboy?
In this little book I'm reading about King Arthur,
Oh.
Grabbed it and blew up an entire castle. I'm like,
Kinda
what?
cool. And that comic book Hellboy, Heckboy, I should say. That spear is important. So when you that it really is important. That's how you're gonna like notice these verbs, right? For present active, it was ns or nt. For future active, it was that you are. For future passive, it's this nd, the same nd we see in the word gerundive. Gerundive is literally coming from the verb gero, gerera, like must be carried. Some kind of verbal sense must be carried over from something like that. So and it's going to be added to sum esse, and it has a more of an obligatory sense to it than just a regular future active participle. Whereas that is just like the boy is to be taught, which is like kind of like an obligation. This is going to be like must or has to be verb. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. Oh yeah, I did add it. Okay. Mondays are always crazy. I forget things I do an hour after I do that. I have sent my son to your school to be taught, is the example we have there. But now if I add, and this is the last part of the chapter, the dative of agent, if I say Carthago Romae delenda est, that would be Carthage must be destroyed by Rome, because Romae there is in the dative. So this is a new use for our dative. We have seen little glimmers of the dative of purpose, like for a dative. But mostly it's still been indirect object. Sometimes it's a recipient of certain verbs like credo, if you believe in that thing is dative. So this is a new thing for dative, which is cool. It's basically the ablative of agent, except ablative of agents show up for just like passive verbs, like normal passive verbs, where this is showing up usually within the context or right next to a passive paraphrastic. So if you notice a passive paraphrastic, and there's also a dative in that sentence, that dative is the thing that's doing it. So it gets by just like how ablative agent gets by. So at least with ablative agent, there was usually an ob or ah, but now we just have to realize that it's dative. So that's pretty straightforward. Let's look at an example of this. So, hic liber mihi concurra legendos eret. Don't get caught up on concurra. So what would it be? Hic liber mihi concurra legendos eret. So our passive paraphrastic is legendos eret. By the way, the sum essay can be any tense. It's always fun. Ben, can you recognize what legendos would be from? What verb it'd be from? It's a good verb. Like, what are you doing to it right now with your eyeballs? You're probably
Watching.
Yeah, you're like watching it with your eyeballs. You're doing something that in English we call sometimes it in the
Looking.
huh? And in the past,
Looking.
it sounds like a color, like the first color in the rainbow. Y'all don't remember Lego Legra, Allie? Yeah, to read,
I don't
right?
know my
To
colors.
read. I guess you watch words, but you read words. So legendas erit. Subject is clearly hic liber, so like this book. So what about this book? Forget about Concurra and even kind of Mihi for a second. McKinley, you can't just, that's not how Latin works. You can't just, I just told you legendas comes from to read.
Oh,
It has nothing to do with legends. Allie? Yeah, this book must be read. What is the Mihi going to be? Yeah, by me with care. You know, with care is just like an extra little ablative phrase it through an ablative manner. Yeah. So this book must be read by me. Well, so the one thing, and it's weird that this is the first example in the book. They make it future tense for some reason. Must would be if it was like legendos est. Since it's future tense, it's a little more complicated. It's this book will have to. So this can be must or have to. Let's get there. Because there's no way we can make must future tense weirdly. We have to use have to instead. But then they give us this alternate translation, which feels so different than the Latin. It's kind of weird. I don't know if I support this. But they said, or you could translate it at like they're like this is the most literal version. But then they're like, what's better is I will have to read this book with care. Or no, it's still have to. You have to. There's no way. But that's just kind of weird because that's making. And I guess apparently we can do this. This feels so kind of removed from the Latin. We're making the dative of agent. We're making it the subject, basically. Why is ablative absolute sitting up there? It should be sitting over this. That's the dative of purpose or agent. So yeah, apparently we can treat the dative of agent like a subject. So I would proceed with caution. What is illa femina omnibus laudanda? This one's good old present tense passive paraphrastic. Well, that's so weird. Because, I mean, it's still future passive, but it's also, I guess.
Good old first tense passive paragraph.
This is future passive, and this is the second one. It's just future passive.
Why did you add to that?
No, it's passive. But how is this like double future? I just actually don't know the term for that. It's
Like,
just making me.
so like it could be like future passive, but then you put the tense of s in the middle, like future active passive. So it's like
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, like you said. So what is illa femina laudanda s? You can ignore omnibus for a second, yeah?
That one is being
Not is being. That would just be like laudon. That'd be like present active. Or no. That'd be like a present passive which doesn't exist. But not is being praised, but use one of these two.
must have been praised.
Just must be praised. Just must. But yeah, pretty much. That woman must be praised. Omnibus? By all. Yeah, that one must be praised by all. So that one's easier because it's just because it has a present tense form to it. Let's just say it that way. I think with these, it's almost like less of a participle when it's a gerund, and it's like this is almost operating by itself. Like this is operating by itself. It's less of like this perfect passive participle kind of construction. But I gotta. Yeah, that's cool. I love these chapters. Like this year's gonna be so fun because like it's like stuff I have to kind of like. This is the stuff I was learning in college. Were these chapters, not like the first 20 or so, but like starting around here.
you just started here, like you were just like here's Latin. And
Well, no, we had an introductory where I think we did a chapter a week. So we got up to here with 1 year of Latin 1, or like Latin 1000. and then Latin 2000 looks like starting around here. Pax ducibus nostris petenda. So petto petra is this new word. It means like banished. So what would that be? We have a imperfect form of past here. So it's like peace what? Peace
Was
It was past.
and
Oh, wait. No, petto, I'm getting mixed up with pello. Petto is seek or sought. If it's
must have
passive.
been sought out
Sought out ducibus nostris?
by our leader.
Yes. And let's see, peace must be sought by our leaders. But how are we making it imperfect? Had to be sought. Had to be sought. Oh my gosh. So we can only use must when the form of sum esse is imperfect. Peace had been. Oh my gosh. So I'll make like a little chart.
Wait, it wouldn't be had to be.
Had
Because had been would just have like a
Yes.
regular.
had been would be like pluperfect passive, yeah. Yeah, I'll make a chart for this to kind of clear it up. The book doesn't like have a chart for all of this. So like if sum esse is imperfect, like had to be verb or had to seek peace. See, their alternate for this is our leaders had to seek peace. So yeah, apparently you can totally treat the dative agent like the subject. That's just kind of mind blowing. But peace had to be sought by our leaders this way. So we do want to get the had in there, just like we want to get the will in the one where the sum esse is future. All right, that is chapter 24. Good thing we have 2 weeks to hang out with it because, like, yeah, definitely some interesting stuff going on, but it's stuff we should definitely be able to handle. So let's do some of these. There's supposed to be a printout of these. You will get it tomorrow. Sorry. But if y'all want to, I'll probably have just no time to write. I'm sorry. I'm supposed to have this written in front of you already. If you want to try to write it in your notes, we're going to go through this.
So, Mr. Cottonella,
What? Yeah?
sorry to interrupt, but I have a question that's been bugging me for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah? What's that?
Why did you take an interest in Latin?
Oh, why? It's a good question. It's because I switched from college from graphic design to English, just because I was like, I kind of like reading, and after a year or two of English, I was reading a lot of Renaissance English, like John Milton, and like I guess a little bit of Shakespeare. And John Milton and Shakespeare, they read like they always talk about like Greco-Roman myths, and there's like a lot of Latin in their stuff, and like they all knew Latin. So I was like, oh, if I want to go like deeper with an English major, I would like pick up a Latin major. I had to take a foreign language anyway, and I was lucky enough to have taken Latin instead of like Spanish or French. And so I just did more Latin than I needed to, and so that became my major in addition to English Renaissance. But yeah, it was just kind of like that. It was kind of like coming from the English literature world, the Renaissance literature world.
Cool.
Latin majors tend to think that English majors are like kind of silly because like they major in their own language. And so it's like, I don't know, it was like a way of like, oh, I can be a little more serious about it, like getting into Renaissance literature by learning this like dead language that was like super influential on English. So yeah, I just wanted to impress all the foreign language majors basically. No, but yeah, like Latin scholars think it's weird that like certain scholars can only speak one language. Like, they just think that's a suspect.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
so a question.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. Like, did you say must have been, have to be, or
Yeah, well, we use must be verb every time the form of sum esse with the past paraphrastic is present tense. But if it's future or imperfect, as we just saw, we can't use must. And that's a limitation of the helping verb must in English.
you can't use must have been?
Must have been, but that wouldn't be imperfect or future. That'd be like perfect. So, yeah.
But then had to be wouldn't be imperfect.
And then like is perfect. I don't know the tense of these passive paraphrastics. I'm like, are they future or are they like whatever the sum esse is? So I'm gonna look back at this chapter. I don't think it explains that here. It talks about how sum esse like reflects the tense, but like if it's coming from something that's initially a future passive verb, then it's so confusing. Often case rather than simple futurity. This is the case in the fact. Okay, hence, blah blah blah. No, it's not explaining it the way I want it to. English commonly uses the expressions has to be, had to be, will have to be So that right there, that's kind of like 3 different tense options we have. Should, ought, and must are also commonly employed. Should. So sometimes should could be used. But should is another thing. We can't put should in the future with a past tense. Weird. Is
So
it
then
not?
can you have it for things like that? Can you have like explorandus fui?
No, I don't think. I think it has to be present, imperfect, or future. The form of should, I say. But those are good questions. Pretty sure. So okay, what is? Let's kind of separate these into like groups. Igne viso must be our what?
Adjective.
Absolute. Yeah, I think it's gonna be our ablative absolute. And then I'll just color code everything else. I also want to underline Terry tie suit. That's something I'll try to do for perfect passives. It's a perfect passive verb, not a perfect passive participle. And then I see ultra. Ultra we haven't seen too much, but it takes an accusative. I see litos. That's from litos litoris, which must be neuter because I'm pretty sure that has to be accusative if it's next to odd. And then insulae maybe generative. Navigaverant. I don't know what tense that is. Perfugium is this new word that means refuge or word. And then inventum s, I should have underlined that too because that is a perfect passive. So igne viso. How should we take igne viso? This is similar to the first one we looked at. What would that be? Anyone? It can sound super clunky. It's allowed to sound really clunky. And once we have the rest of the sentence, we might make it sound more idiomatic.
Having been seen
Not by fire, but like the fire having been seen. Yeah, something like that. Like or like with the fire having been seen, which sounds pretty clunky. Well, not that clunky. There might be an English sentence where somebody would talk that way. So like with the fire being seen, what's our subjects? Yeah, like all men and I don't know why it's not weary at femini, it's weary at auxores because it's men and their what's auxor? We haven't seen it in like a while. Yeah. All men and their wives, I'm gonna add there. Terry tie suit. What Terry tie suit be? Do you remember Terreo Terrari, McKinley? Terreo Terrari.
Scared,
Yep. So but this is a perfect passive.
but are scared.
Yeah, well close, but that would be present passive, so make it perfect using it
Right.
helping.
Has been scared.
Yeah, and since it's men and women, the men and women have been scared. So, like with the fire having been seen, all the men or every man and their wives, and their wives have been scared, or maybe just were scared. I know I talked about using have and has been with perfect passive, but sometimes were or were sound better. We're scared, and let's get our next verb. I feel like I want our next verb. Yes, which was what tense, Allie? So it's they. Yeah, or like sailed. Sailed is a little better. Yeah, we get navigate from it. It's like sailed ultra urban. It's ultra urban. Do we remember ultra? I feel like you've seen it twice.
no, beyond.
Yes, beyond
Beyond the city.
I don't think we did. We just to the good the shore. Yeah, you remember Litos. Good. To the shore.
Of the plot.
It's like a peninsula that isn't connected at all to a larger body. It's a full
Island.
So to the shore of the island. So this is just going to perfect active. Good. They sailed beyond the city to the shore of the island. Where what? Perfugium est inventum. What is invenio and venire? Good. So refuge. What's the other word for perfugium?
Refugees were found.
Not so it's not refuge as in like a refugee. It's refuge as in a place.
Were refugees.
Yeah, where refuge was found is perfect, or has been found. Was is better, right? Has been found, sounds weird. Shelter. Shelter I like a little better. So with the fire having been seen, all men and their wives were terrified. That's the first part.
I didn't know bees. Scary. That's scary.
Yeah. There it is. That's what I think looks like Russian. All you got to do is like what Chicken Boy is saying is sometimes the way a speech bubble is like it becomes a text box, and if it's like flipped the wrong way, like. But yeah, like as soon as you flip English, it looks like another, maybe not Russian, but like looks like some weird language. So the wives were terrified, and they sailed beyond the city to the shore of the island where refuge was. Yeah. Oh yeah. All right. So that's a new thing. That's not added to the full color code thing, and I don't know why. It's because it was doing the weird backwards. I'm gonna do. It's a little. On here it looks okay, but on here it looks way too close to genitive pink, right? I mean, does it look different than genitive pink? No, it looks like another kind of genitive. I thought purple was. It's just not a good purple. It needs to be.
Just have it like be another kind of like dark green.
Very
could you,
dark
like,
green.
Because then it's like ablative.
Yellow.
Or yeah, actually you're right though. Because what about like green and blue combined? It's like ablative.
So it'd be like a bluish green. I like orange. I says, yeah, I thought
Like
orange.
teal.
Orange would maybe look close to red, but we don't have even a yellow. So. Yeah, because I use purple. We need to be a purple with more blue in it. Like that is what it's mostly just dark pink. All right, but that was our ablative absolute. So it's 2 words that in English. I mean, that's kind of crazy, right? It's 2 words in Latin. It's 6 in English. What's the better language?
English. No, wait, Greek. Greek is the holy grail of the
Hieroglyphs.
language. I know it, yes. Egypt.
Egyptian?
We need to learn
Egyptian.
Egyptian.
Nope. Okay.
Now, even better, we got to go back to the first language. Now, I'm
we?
going to learn that. So
What is it? What is it?
That would be like Sumerian, like
Sumerian, the first known
Akkadian.
language.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
technically don't know.
Indus River Valley people. That probably is.
Once
Okay.
I learned that, I'll be a master.
Yeah. Look, okay, this ablative absolute is pretty easy. It's obviously the first 3 words. I'm seeing a bunch of macrons and a bunch of vowels. Populo metu oppresso. We keep seeing this verb for suppress. What would that be? That would be easy.
fear.
I'll go up here. But like, what's the whole thing? What's the whole ablative absolute?
The people were oppressed by fear.
Just the people. What's one of these words that we want to use with ablative absolute?
Having been oppressed by fear.
Yeah, or like, but I was getting like certain
Since
prepositions.
the people were oppressed by fear.
Yeah, or like since and with. So like with the people having been suppressed by fear, or since the people had been oppressed by fear. I'm using had been because of a complicated reason. I'll try to explain more. That's our ablative absolute. And then I see is stay imperator, like maybe it's just a subject. I see nobis, some kind of ablative, I think. It could be dative, I guess. Ex urba is ablative. And then palindos s is a perfect passive verb. And that is from Pello Pellera. That is to banish. I was getting it mixed up with Peto Petra. And I'm going to keep doing it. What do you think?
Speechless.
Why is there a comma?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, yeah, because I actually went back. I was just making the ablative absolutes green, but I was like, oh, that's like too much. Like some of these sentences have so many ablatives already. I don't want to, like, it's a super ablative. It should get its own color. So that's a remnant.
We
of
should
that.
do it different though. We should do white. Like a
Yeah, we
really
should do white
dark
on white.
Gray, white. No, wait, we need different backgrounds. We need like blue.
For a little while, I did have like black backgrounds, but that was weird. Like all the, that was not a good idea.
I remember that.
Well, maybe we just need a lighter black, almost
Like a gray. Gray's
Yeah,
kind of works. So what's this
Why
gonna?
is- why is the word-
He's just, I don't know. He's got nothing to say. So with the people having been suppressed by fear, that's a lot of words. That in Latin is just 3. It's kind of great. What that commander? What? Belinda's S needs to banish or strike. Has been banished. Nobis. It's weird that Nobis doesn't have an A or Ob. It doesn't seem like it should. Oh well, but yeah, like by what? Why doesn't it? Leave it out? No. Yeah, it's kind of weird, but by us, right? Us, it's first person plural. He's been banished from this city. So look at that. That's crazy. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 words from 3 Latin
That's why
words.
Greek is better. It's
You don't
the
know-
ultimate language.
You don't what? You don't know anything about Greek. You can't come in here and tell me that. You can't come into my dojo and tell me Greek's better when you don't even know about Greek syntax. For all we know, Greek would have to take like 20 words to say what Latin is saying in 3 words. I don't know because I don't know Greek. I should, but I don't. With the population having been suppressed by fear, that commander has been driven out of the city by us. Why does this ablative agent have no or ob? I'm not sure, but I guess that's something that they can do. And what else would it be? That's what it's got to be.
But if Latin professors at college don't like English people because they can't speak more English, Latin is basically English, just different. So,
Well, it's
but
English
why-
alphabet.
but the Greek is completely different. That would be more of a challenge.
Well, it is. Yeah. So that it's like a tier. It's like English majors who don't pick up a second language are like weaklings. Then Latin scholars they're like cooler than English majors, but they're not as cool as people who know Greek or hopefully Greek and Latin. Like those definitely are the coolest people in the kind of foreign language department of any college. And then like the really cool ones are people who probably know languages you've never heard, like Urdu and Farsi and like Sanskrit.
And that whistling one was the Bible.
And the whistling one. But like those are honestly the coolest ones. The ones who don't mess with the obvious languages like Latin or even like Japanese, like they learn Farsi and Urdu and stuff, Pashtun.
My aunt, she like majored in language studies. She went for like 8 years,
Sweet.
and she's like fluent in Hebrew and Egyptian and Greek and Latin.
Wow.
That is the
Yeah.
ultimate treasure trove.
No,
of
that's
language.
yeah. So the ones I was describing, Pashtun, Farsi, and Urdu, that's like if you want to be CIA or something and like travel to the Middle East a lot. But the ones she knows, that's like just like the ultimate scholar, someone who knows Hebrew, Greek, maybe some Aramaic or Arabic. Like that way you can like read any version, like
Well,
liturgy
that's
version of the
what makes up
Bible.
Western civilization mostly, right? Those
No, not well. Those languages they're kind of like right in the middle of Eurasia, so they're like on the
But they
line between the East and the West, which
But
is
the Greece, Rome, and the Hebrew have major influence on American culture, or at least writing and
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah, but yeah, like the Hebrew language comes from like Judea, like Israel, and that's like what they're now Asia. And yeah, like Iranian.
I don't know where Egypt.
Huh?
Yeah, like my best friend is also he's 1 year older than me. He's like on track to be
Hello.
translator for the Navy.
Yeah, okay.
So he's just learning all of the languages.
Yeah, like if someone knows like Russian or any of the Middle Eastern languages, like you can like CIA,
Hey.
like special forces, like you can do anything. But yeah, there's certain majors where all you do is you just go to school to learn like as many languages as possible, and you just like walk away from college like knowing a bunch of languages. So those people make any single foreign language major look kind of underleveled. Yeah, no.
Unlike you, we have Latin and English.
Right. What?
I think Ben was trying.
I think Ben, were you asking us something?
Oh, I have the infinity options of language.
We're
No.
got a lot of
Turn off the light.
okay, and I forgot to change this to purple. That first person. Let's do like probably at least more get in. Orator. Oh, this one's not the very beginning. Interesting, but it's still in an obvious place.
It's in the middle.
Yeah, signo a sacerdote dato eodie revenit et nunc totus populus latinus gaudet. This one is not as bad as it looks. There's like a big old nominative noun phrase that's probably making us think it's more complicated than it is. It's not that complicated. But we only have a minute to translate it, so that's complicated. So the orator, and then signo a sacerdote dato. Who thinks they can? What is sacerdote? Anyone?
It's
I think we get words like sacred from it.
wisdom.
It's a religious figure, starts with a P.
Priest.
Yeah, priest, good. Every temple would have at least one. So something about a priest, something about a, what's signo? Signum signi? A sign or signal. And dato, what's dato from? Dodare dedi datum. So the orator, and then like there's a pause. I would use like a hyphen here. With the what? With the, what do you think? How do we put that? Let's not use priest yet. Let's use signo first. So with the sign being dato, being given off sacerdote. So there's a ablative of regent. Yeah. So that would be okay. And then I skip ahead. So AODA would be on this day, and then revenit. That's actually new grammar too. That's from venio venire, but it's not to come. It's to come back. So here it all is. The order, and like you could keep it as commas, but I feel like if someone did say this in English, they would use M dashes. Since the signal from the priest had been given, on this day came back. That almost sounds like too much information for just one sentence, but we can squeeze it in there.
And that is why Greek is superior.
You are
Kick you
really
out of this
triggering
class.
my
On this day came back. Now what? Totus populus latinus gaudet. It's just now the whole Latin people or nation rejoices. That's the last part of it. All right. I will print these out for you guys so you can stop writing huge Latin sentences, and we'll do a bunch more tomorrow, and then we'll check the homework on Wednesday. But yeah, this is kind of exciting grammar. It's getting crazy, but it's like fun crazy. Hopefully, maybe. McKinley, we might go over something and advisement if I don't get caught up. Okay, one more class. I can do this. One more class on Monday's over. All right, Ben, enjoy your math class. We'll see you later. All the stuff should be up on Teams, so good luck with it, and see you later.